do like a should
Yeah.
do like a Instagram theme and make it look like you have glasses
Well,
on.
that's true too.
We're live.
Yeah.
Welcome to Christian Crossfire. I am, as always, Matt Truman. Alongside me is Waylon, the Red Rooster, Kylan, Billy, David. Welcome, guys.
Hey.
Good evening, brothers. Good
How you
evening.
doing, man?
We're doing good tonight. We're going to do an open forum Q&A, all that good stuff. Waylon has. Are you talking about what's coming out here for Halloween, or?
Well, I was gonna wait until the editing was done to see how horrible it is, and I might back out and not post it. But since you already kind of put me on the spot, yeah, go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
No, well, we got a Halloween video. Well, it's not
Oh.
really. It's kind of like, you know, I'm an aspiring filmmaker, and so far I'm failing horribly, but we're having a blast at it, and we're shooting a few scenes. We're trying to compile them into maybe like a 15 minute cheesy Halloween feature. So yeah, if I get the editing done and it's not too horrible, I will be sharing it with everybody this Halloween. So, and yours truly, right there in the top center, Doc Truman has a part.
Really?
There, yeah. He doesn't do
Wow.
that. We should have put that in there. But yeah, so we had a blast though. It's
Well,
fun.
that's cool.
Yeah.
I only do one nude scene. That's it.
That's
Okay.
it.
And I'm not shooting that one. I'm out. So that's a different movie. That's a different program altogether. I'm not in that. Whew. Okay.
It's getting. Go ahead.
For those watching, if anybody wants to come on the broadcast, I say it early. That way, people, when they watch later, they'll see it. All of us that you see here are on a private group, messenger group, and we've been on there, some of us for years now. And there's like 20 something of us on there. I forgot the number, and we get links every week, and you can see the links. You can see the conversations. We make fun of Billy a lot because he deserves it, and you can look at
I
all that
definitely
on the
deserve
group.
it.
And then you can just watch. You don't have to say anything. You don't have to text anything. You don't have to acknowledge anything. But you'll see the links every week on Sunday nights about 8:30, 8 o'clock. And then you just come on the group. You just click the button, and wow, you're there. It's like magic. And just be with us. Tonight we're doing question and answer. Um, and if you got questions, put them on there. Let us know. And then if I can't answer it, I'm sure Doc or Billy, Kylan or David can. So, anybody got any questions to start it off? No? Okay.
Questions as far as
Just biblical questions of any kind. So I just write down a few of them just to get started till people get on here like we did last time.
Well, I ran into something in my studies
Uh-oh.
for my Sunday school this week that I don't know if I fully understand it. And it's in Numbers, the end of 33 and the beginning of 34. It's like the last, I don't know, 5 or 6 verses in 33, and then verses 15 through or 13 through, I don't know, 16 and 34. But there's a situation where they're getting ready to cross over into the promised land, and there's 9.5 tribes that actually go in and 2.5 that don't. And when I was studying this, it seemed like to me that hi Sabrina, the reason that the 2.5 tribes didn't go in is based on their disobedience. And I can kind of back that up with in Numbers 32. It kind of ties it in with, and this is just what my interpretation of what I read and studied this week is, it kind of ties it into the 10 spies that came back and were bearing false witness. If you read like the first, I don't know, 5 verses of Numbers 32, and then verses 10 through like 14, it kind of ties those all in together. Now, some people think that that is still part of the promised land, but the limits in 34 to the promised land state that the promised land is all on the west side of the Jordan. Well, these 2.5 tribes took up residence on the east side of the Jordan in the plains of Moab. They never crossed into the promised land.
So you're saying that was because of their disobedience?
Well, yeah, I believe it's because they angered God. I mean, it even says that in chapter 32. It even says that they angered God. First, they angered Moses. Moses was mad at them. Then they angered God, and that's why he had them wandering in the desert for 40 years.
Where do you see
34?
Where was
Go
this?
ahead.
No, I was just going to say, where do you see? I mean, because it's been a while since I've studied on that at all. Where's the verse where you think that it's because of disobedience? Where's the?
Well, I mean, when you find yourself outside of the will of God, that angers God, right? So, and the reason why he had them wandering in the wilderness for 40 years is because they acted out of disobedience. They acted out of lack of faith.
What, didn't they all?
No, there was 2 that didn't. Caleb and Joseph didn't.
No, I mean all the tribes. That's what I meant. I'm sorry. All the tribes
Well,
wandered
yeah,
for 40
because
years. Yeah.
the 10 men, the 10 spies that came back from the promised land bore false witness, and the rest of Israel, except for Caleb and Joseph,
Mm-hmm.
Fell into their lie, basically, believed their lies.
Yeah, I've never heard that one about they were disobedient. That's why they didn't go over, but I could be wrong.
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah, because they were still, I mean, they were even offering offerings and building an altar on the other side of the river, which I don't know where the verse is, but they were still offering to God and serving God on the other side of Jordan. So, but I mean, that's something I have to study on. The half the tribe of, what was it? There was Manasseh, Gad, and I forgot the other one.
Reuben.
Reuben.
Yeah. It's Reuben, Gad, and Manasseh. But
exactly.
In 14 of 34, it says that they received their inheritance. So they received an inheritance. So you're going to have to argue, like, what kind of inheritance was that? Was that an inheritance like under punishment or under blessing? Because they all
and
went
we know
across.
that Reuben lost his inheritance. Reuben lost his inheritance because he was actually the firstborn son. When they raped Dinah, he tricked the men of Canaan, said, if you get circumcised, we'll go along with you marrying her. And then Reuben, I can't remember who it was with. I think it was with Gad, went after they circumcised themselves, went in and killed them all, killed all the men of Canaan. And because of that, Reuben was stripped of his inheritance. That's how Joseph and his sons became the firstborn. So I think it even goes back to that instance where Reuben was stripped of his inheritance.
Yeah, I've not heard that. I mean, when it says they received their inheritance, I've always took it that it was still given to them by God. But I'll study it out.
If you look at verse 34, the first 12 verses, it lists the dimensions of the promised land and says that it's all west of the Jordan. Every bit of it. Well, the land they settled in, half the tribe of Manasseh, Reuben, and Gad, is on the east side. And if you look in chapter 32, it says the children of Reuben, the children of Gad had a very great multitude of cattle. And when they saw the land of Jezer and the land of Gilead, that's in the plains of Moab on the west or the east side of the river Jordan. They wanted to stay there. And in my mind, it doesn't matter why you're disobedient. You know what I'm saying? And half the tribe of Manasseh is on the west side of the Jordan. So you can't. They didn't use the cattle as as a reason to stay. They're still cattle farmers. They took their cattle with them across the Jordan.
Mhm.
So I'm just this is, and I don't know the answers. I just
Right.
you
No,
know
it's something good to study on there. That Numbers 34, 14, 15. I don't know if that's where Kylan was talking about or not. But so for the tribe of the children of Reuben according to the house of their fathers, and the tribe of the children of Gad according to the house of their fathers, have received their inheritance. Have received their of their fathers have received their inheritance, and half the tribe of Manasseh have received their inheritance, and it was a God-given inheritance. So I mean, um, I can't say it was out of disobedience, otherwise they really wouldn't inherit it. But then it says the two tribes and the
where
half
does
tribe
it
have
say it was a God-given inheritance?
well, it was given to them. It was
It
God's the
was
one that
given
told
to
him to
them,
go and give it to him. Within 15, the two tribes and the half tribe have received their inheritance on this side Jordan near Jericho eastward toward the sun rising. So they received their inheritance on their way into the promised land. Matter of fact, there's one place, I don't know where it's at exactly on him, but where God even told them to go with their brethren and fight with them
and they did
until they
agree
were,
to do that.
yeah,
They said
so,
we will not set up residency on the east side until after we've declared you
right,
victory
yeah. So
on the west side.
Mhm.
yeah, there's a lot. I mean, they were still in obedience to go and take the promised
Well,
land.
yeah, and it
There's a
takes me
lot
back
to it.
to, I mean,
I mean, God,
Moses wasn't
the
allowed to
whole
even
point
go
of
over.
the whole point of Numbers 33 though is God starts it off with a command.
But I'm saying,
I'm
where do you
sorry,
see that
not at the
it's
beginning of 33, not in the beginning of 33, but in 50, it says, the Lord
Mhm.
spoke unto Moses in the plains of Moab by Jordan near Jericho, saying, speak to the children of Israel and say unto them, when you are passed over into the Jordan, into the land of Canaan, then you shall drive out all the inhabitants. It doesn't say
Mhm.
he's only talking to 9.5 tribes. He's
Where are
talking
you
to
reading right
all
now?
of them. Verse 50 in Numbers 33.
Oh,
He's talking to
Numbers
all
33.
of them.
Mhm.
Sure.
This is the same reason why he gets mad. God gets angry with them in chapter 32, is because, well, they see that this land's good for cattle and they want to stay there. Well, God's anger was on them because they didn't want to go. And to me, it ties them in with the 10 spies that came back bearing false witness. And that's the reason why they wandered for 40 years.
Mhm.
It ties those two in together. It ties the 10 false witnesses and Manasseh, Reuben, and Gad wanting to stay on that side of the Jordan is why they wandered for 40 years. Chapter 32 ties both of those in together.
So
It
you're
says the Lord's
saying that the
anger
two
was kindled against it says in verse 10 in chapter 32, the Lord's anger was kindled the same time. And the Lord's anger was kindled the same time. He swears, saying, surely none of the men that came out of Egypt from 20 years old and upward shall see the land.
there it
And
is,
it
20
ties
years and
in,
upward.
well,
20
yeah,
years
right.
and yeah. So they all died out in the wilderness.
Mhm.
So
But even the ones that were still alive didn't go in. Only half the tribe of Manasseh did.
right. But and then so you go in 32 and um 29, Moses said unto them, if the children of Gad and the children of Reuben will pass over with you over Jordan, every man armed to battle before the Lord, the land shall be subdued before you, then you shall give them the land of Gilead for a possession. So it was still in God's agreement that he was speaking through Moses that if they helped the children of Israel fight to go inherit the promised land that God spoke at the first, that they would still be in covenant with God. And then it says, but if you will not pass over armed, they shall have possessions among you in the land of, or I'm sorry, but if they will not pass over with you armed, they shall have possession among you in the land of Canaan. And the children of Gad and children of Reuben answered, saying, as the Lord has said, and thy servant, so will we do. We will pass over armed before the Lord in the land of Canaan, and the possession of our inheritance on this side of Jordan may be ours. So, I mean, I'd see they were all in agreement still of the covenant, God speaking through Moses. I don't see where God didn't really give them inheritance. But I mean,
But an inheritance outside the promised land is kind of weird.
well, but you remember we was talking about before about the inheritance wasn't just that lot. That was just a temporary lot. Oh, where's it at? Oh, hold on a second. Isaiah. Yeah, and I don't know where you heard that, like their disobedience. I mean, unless you were just questioning the fact that it
That's
could
what
have
I'm
been.
questioning. Like, is the
Okay,
reason
yeah.
why they weren't allowed to cross over based on their disobedience, their lack of faith? They're not obeying the command that he gave in 3350 to pass over.
Is that
Because
this?
it says
The greater Israel?
let's see. I'm trying to.
No.
Well, that's the north of the Dead Sea right there. So right there on the bottom right, yeah, right about there. That's where Jericho's at.
Mm-hmm.
So Manasseh, half the tribe of Manasseh, Reuben, and Gad are on the right side of that, not pictured in that map. Like what's not laid up farther up. Move your cursor to
Israel's
the right.
here. This is like Jordan and all that.
So right there, that's the Dead Sea.
That's all of Egypt right here.
Yeah, that's the Dead Sea. That body of water on the bottom right.
Okay.
That, I believe that's the Dead Sea. That line coming out of that is the River Jordan. Well, I don't know. It's hard to tell on that map.
Yeah. No, I think Jordan's like comes right through here.
No,
yeah,
the river.
Map sucks. Sorry.
That's okay.
I'll find a better map.
Look up a map that's color coded to where the tribes of Jordan or the tribes of Israel inhabited.
I was just pointing out, like, that's kind of like current day Israel's.
Yeah.
What they want. They want something called Greater Israel. So they even want to go past all that. But
well, I know one thing also that it stated in this study I saw, where it stated that Gaza and what we call the Gaza Strip was not included in their inheritance.
Yeah, I don't know the way they got it divided up today. I've never really looked at the current map with the old inheritance. I don't know. But I do know that if you go to Psalm 63, God gave them what he intended them to have and they received it. So I'm sorry, Isaiah 63. Isaiah 63 and 17, 18. O Lord, why hast thou made us to err from thy ways and harden our heart from thy fear? Return for thy servant's sake the tribes of thine inheritance. Thy people of thy holiness have possessed it. He gave it to them for a possession. The people of thy holiness have possessed it but a little while. So people argue over the possession, the territory lines, how much land and all that. He says, and our adversaries have trodden down thy sanctuary. So God gave them what he wanted them to have. Now, they didn't handle it correctly. They didn't drive out the inhabitants of the land. They got punished. They had to suffer things. Yeah. But God gave them their inheritance, and it was fulfilled. Now, whether we do a study on whether they were disobedient and God was angry with them, I don't necessarily see that, but I do know that He did give them an inheritance.
I mean, it shows right there on the east in that map he's got up. It shows the green on the east side of the Jordan. But in chapter 34, if you read it, it says the promised land is all on the east side or the west side.
Manasseh was East Manasseh was on top, Gad was in the middle, and Reuben was the bottom right
Hmm. Yeah.
on the east side of the river. So yeah, but and
Yeah.
when you look at all that, for God to let them take that over and conquer it and have it, it had to be an inheritance. Because if it was in disobedience, every time they would fight for something or for land or and they did it in disobedience, they were always beat, they were always conquered. So
Hmm.
for them to do it successfully, in my opinion, that was part of God's
Mm-hmm.
inheritance for them. But I
You
mean,
know,
we can disagree on that.
so that wasn't the point of my study, but that's just something that
Right.
I questioned.
Right.
Sometimes God will,
Yeah.
you know, give me different
Sure.
lessons through my studies than he wants me to teach to the class.
Hmm.
He's given
Well,
me a
that was
desire
great, man,
to
because I haven't
dig
really
deeper.
heard any of that. So, I mean,
Yeah.
I've read through Numbers, but it's been a while. That's
Well,
something
me
I'm
too.
gonna have to check out.
Mm-hmm.
But the key to the lesson that I taught was in verse, let's see, chapter 30. Oh, where was it? Oh, yeah, 33, verse 56, where it says, "Moreover, it shall come to pass that I shall do unto you as I thought to do unto them, if you don't drive out the people that are there
Right.
and their idolatry," and what that means. And that actually
Hmm.
did happen. They were driven, they received the punishment, that they received the vengeance of God, that God meant. So God meant for Israel to be his source of vengeance on these idolatrous people. It
Right.
was
Yeah.
he was using the people of
Sure.
Israel to enact the judgment of God on the people that were in the land of Canaan. And Israel disobeyed. When they got in there, they didn't do what they were told. They ended up falling back into idolatry, which is why God told them to cast them out, because they have a problem with idolatry.
Right.
And so when they didn't enact the vengeance of God on those people, God enacted his vengeance on them through the Assyrians and the Babylonians. He used the Syrians and the Babylonians to enact that vengeance on them. That was the point of my
Um,
lesson.
so Joshua 19, yeah, Joshua 19 and 49. When they made an end of dividing the land for inheritance by their coasts, the children of Israel gave an inheritance to Joshua, son of Nun, among them. You go 51. These are the inheritances which Eleazar the priest, Joshua the son of Nun, the heads of the fathers of the tribes of the children of Israel, divided for an inheritance by lot in
Mhm.
Shiloh before the Lord at the door of the tabernacle. And then the very last verse is, so they made an end of dividing the country. So if they made an end of dividing the country, I would have to say that the inheritance was fulfilled as far as
Mm-hmm.
the lot of their inheritance. Um, whether, Gad and Manasseh and them were, I don't see the disobedience necessarily, but where'd you say the verse was that made you think that they were in disobedience to God
Well, it's
during the
well,
inheritance?
I mean, it's several things. Like Reuben was stripped of his birthright through killing the Canaanite men for raping his sister.
Mm.
So you're saying that the rest of of all of his brethren that came from Reuben were all punished because of what he did, and that's why they were on the east side of Jordan?
I mean, that's kind of what I am leaning to. I haven't studied this all the way out, you know what I'm
I
saying? But
gotcha.
you
Right,
know,
yeah.
if the God commands you to do something and you don't do it, you're
Right.
outside of his will.
Right.
But see, then you had all the 12 tribes that were outside of his will, and then
Hmm.
died off, and then all the 12 tribes could go and inherit the land. So all the 12 tribes, not just Reuben, but they were all stripped of their inheritance.
But only
But
nine
they're
and a half tribes went into the promised land.
right. Yeah. No, well, because they desired to have their inheritance on the east side of Jordan. That didn't mean they didn't get an inheritance.
Well, I
Because it's
want a lot
simply
of things. I want a lot of things. If I don't abide myself in the will of God, I'm not getting them.
but the whole point is, it sounds like God
And
allowed them
even if
to.
you do, you may not get them.
Right.
Yeah, I mean,
Right.
God allowed them to, and then has said, "Go fight for my brethren," or "Go fight for your brethren," and then come back and dwell in your inheritance. So I don't see where God was continually mad at them because of what Reuben did hundreds of years ago. I mean,
I mean,
it's a
isn't it
thought.
weird though that in 32 it says his anger he was the Lord was obviously angry with them in chapter 32 verse 10
Wait, let me go back there.
because they saw the land on the east side of the Jordan and was like, hey, we want to stay here. And he ties that in chapter 32 of Numbers to the disobedience of the 10 men coming back as spies and causes
Right.
them to wander in the wilderness for 40 years.
Yeah, but the 11th verse, he's bringing back his anger all the way back to the 11th verse. Surely none of the men that came up out of Egypt from 20 years old and upward shall see the land which I swear unto Abraham, unto Isaac, and unto Jacob, because they have not wholly followed me. That was the
So
whole
the
point of his
punishment
anger.
so
Yeah.
the punishment was enacted on them, not the ones that settled on the west side or the east side.
Yeah, I mean, because they were in obedience. They were following the commandment of God, even as far as going over Jordan to fight for the promised land. So I think he was rehearsing back into the days of Egypt when they came out of Egypt. Surely none of the men that came out of Egypt from 20 years old and upward shall see the land which I swear unto them, because they have not wholly followed me. They were the ones that were the older generation that had to die out because they didn't wholly follow the Lord. The half tribe of Gad and Manasseh and the other tribe, they were doing what they were told. They just asked for their possession to be on the east side. I mean, God still gave it to them, but that's a good
So,
study. I haven't studied on that in a while.
All
It was
right.
because the Nephilim tribes inhabited the land of Canaan. They didn't obey the Lord to go in and wipe those tribes. And that's kind of the way I see it. Like even even they still never crossed over. Even though
Well,
they
they
went over
crossed
there and
over to
fought.
fight. Yeah,
Right.
yeah. They
But
crossed. They still
if
fought for the promised land in obedience, but they chose on the east side. And there's more to it, I'm sure, that I'm not. I mean, obviously, I'm not even seeing. But that
I
13th
mean,
verse, the
you
Lord's
always
anger was
think of the
kindled against.
promised land. You always think of the promised land on the west side of the Jordan. This is the first time that I've realized that there was an inheritance given to people on the east side of the Jordan,
Oh
and there
yeah,
has to be a
yeah,
reason why. You don't just reward somebody something. I mean, it's still an act of disobedience, is kind of how I'm seeing this, because they still, if they punished them for it once, and then when they get there, they're still like, I don't really want to go. I still want to feed my cows over here.
Hmm.
I don't know.
Well, and
It's just
honestly,
I'm having
it
trouble
could have
wrapping
been
my mind around, if
right.
it's an act of disobedience once, why isn't it an act of disobedience later? It doesn't care what you want. I want to feed my cows over here. Doesn't matter. It
Yeah,
angered God.
I guess not understanding why God went ahead and allowed it's one thing, but He still gave it to them. We have to say
Hmm.
that He gave them their inheritance.
And how does
There's no
that tie
way.
into it really not being a part of the promised land? Because the boundaries of Canaan in verse 34 put it all on the east side or the west side.
Sure. Yeah.
All of it's
All,
on the west side in 34.
all I know at this point is God gave it to them. Now, why
Hmm.
and all that, I don't have to study it, but He still gave them their inheritance. I mean, there wasn't anything. I mean, he didn't leave out any tribes to not give them an inheritance, except for the tribe of Levites, which.
And does it tie into, everybody's going to receive an inheritance? Where's that going to be? Is it going to be in the promised land or outside of it? You're going one of two places.
Right. Yeah. You're going to
You see
inherit
what I'm
eternal
saying?
life.
Like,
Yeah.
you're
You're
going
going to
one of two
inherit eternal
places.
life. Exactly.
No.
And so what? They were given an inheritance, but that inheritance was not in the promised land.
Kylan's got
Well,
something.
technically it was in the broad spectrum, because the promised land was the world.
Their
but-
inheritance is their inheritance. I mean, look at the parable of the
Yeah.
prodigal son. His father had an inheritance set up for him, but he wanted to do it his way. So he said, just go ahead and divide unto me what's mine, and I'm going to go do what I want with it. The father said, okay. It's basically the same thing right here. You've got these tribes basically saying, you know what, we like this land, just like Lot did with Abraham. He's like, hey,
Exactly.
I know, but point is that the inheritance was still their inheritance. They had a portion of land that was going to be given to them. And maybe that's why Judah's specific slice of the West is so huge compared to everybody else. You know what I'm saying? But the point is that the inheritance was given to them. It was their inheritance. They just asked for it on their own terms to do with it the way they pleased with it. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So was it disobedience? I mean, that's a semantic argument. But if we're focusing on the fact of like, what was the inheritance? Was it their inheritance as God intended? God promised them land, right? The promised land, like you said, is on the west side, but they chose to be on the east side of Eden, or not Eden, forgive me.
It's okay.
Jordan. Because the land was more fair. They felt that, they could do more with it. And like you said, pointing back to, when you said exactly when I mentioned Lot, there was that division. Abraham continued to sojourn in faith, whereas Lot broke off to settle and be, entrenched in that society.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So yeah, you can see the mix, but to call it straight up disobedience, not so much, because they all had a choice. Just like Abraham argued with God.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? God had a specific plan, but he still argued, and he was like, please don't be angry with me. But I mean, he brought it all the way down to just 10 men, But there was that argue there. I'm not saying that God's one for negotiation, but my point is that the inheritance was the inheritance, plain and simple. They wanted a piece of land. They were owed a piece of land. They asked for it on their own terms.
Remember when God promised it to him in the beginning, though, to Abraham? And you notice what we're reading in Numbers, where were we at? 33. I flipped the page. 30, 34. 34 chapter, 33rd chapter, 32nd chapter, all this. Do you remember what God promised Abraham in the beginning, what the inheritance actually was?
Exactly. Yeah. North, south, east, west, all that the eye can see.
Okay, exactly. So that was what in Genesis 17. So technically, God promised Abraham the world. So when he took him over to give him a lot or a sliver of land, just because he allowed some of the tribes to be outside of those boundaries, technically he gave Abraham a promise to inherit the whole world. And people forget that. They get so tore up over the sliver of land and the West Bank, Golan Heights, Jordan, whatever, and and it's all jacked up. But God, and here's the thing, and I ask people, okay, well, if God promised, because he mentions it here in 32:11, shall see the land which I swear unto Abraham, unto Isaac, and unto Jacob, because they have not wholly followed me. Well, what did he promise to Abraham? As far as he could see northward, southward, eastward, and westward. And this is a little sarcastic, but if Abraham's eyesight wasn't real good, if everybody wants to look at it carnally and literally, how far can the human eye see? Not real
Depends
far,
on the
right?
weather.
Huh?
So it depends on the weather.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the
Nowadays,
altitude.
it's a little more difficult.
Yeah.
No
So So when he promised him, as far as you can see, northward, southward, eastward, and westward, if that was all it was, Abraham couldn't see all that land and the inheritance. He couldn't. So all I'm saying is he's just telling him, as far as you can look that way, as far as you know, it's all yours. That what they were going to inherit was temporarily was a lot of inheritance. It was just like the down payment, because the actual promise was the world. Romans 4, real quick.
Before we go to
Romans-
Romans 4, let me bring up this comment Brett wrote. It's kind of, he said this before and now he's saying it here again. Joshua and Caleb believed the Lord that they could take the land because the Lord would go before them and prepare the way. But they believed the 10 that said they were unable to take it because of the cannibalistic giants that were there regardless of the Lord's promise. And then he said,
that's what I was referring to in
for 40 years.
Good.
Right.
Yeah,
And
that's
then,
what I was talking about in 32, Numbers 32. And he ties
and then their
that
children would come in. Yeah.
In Numbers 32, he ties that in with Manasseh, Reuben, and Gad as not wanting to go into the promised land. And that's the reason why they made him wander for 40 years.
No, just because his
and
dad,
also-
Manasseh?
No, he ties it in within chapter 32. They tie it in with those 10 men.
Yeah, I don't see
Because
those
verse 10
2.5
says,
tribes
verse
being
10
in
says,
disobedience, but
verse 10 says in Numbers 32, I got to get back there. And at the same time, God's anger was reviled against them. I got to find it again. Numbers 32, verse 10.
I got it if you want.
Yeah, go ahead.
32:10.
Yeah.
And the Lord's anger was kindled the same time, and he swears, saying, and it goes to 11.
And that's what Waylon's saying. It's to the men over the age of 20. So I do see that point.
yeah.
Did you want 11 too, or no?
Go ahead.
Surely none of the men that came up out of Egypt from 20 years old and upward shall see the land which I swear unto Abraham, unto Isaac, and unto Jacob, because they have not wholly followed me.
Right. So he ties in Reuben, Gad, and Manasseh there with the people of 10, the 10 people that came back bearing false witness of the land, but enacted that punishment on anybody that was over 20. So you're saying that when they did actually go into the promised land, none of those people were there, right?
They all died. Yeah.
They all died off.
Yeah.
What's confusing to me is they still didn't go. They like, did they change their pact with God? Like God wanted them to still go, but they're like, okay, we'll fight with like Kylan said, you can't really barter with God. But Abraham did it. Abraham kept, saying, if there's 10 men, what about if there's just one righteous man? If you find 10 righteous men. So Abraham did kind of barter with God to try to change his mind into destroying Sodom and Gomorrah. So, I mean, I don't necessarily know the answer, just kind of spitballing what I am taking from the text and trying to understand it fully.
And like tying that back in with what Waylon and you were talking about with 20 and over, they all died out. And what you're saying is you don't understand why they didn't go in. That's where I brought in the parable of the prodigal son.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? It's like, hey, we have an inheritance due us. We want it now right here so we can do with it what we want. That's why they didn't go over. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. It does. And I see what you're saying about the prodigal son. He got his inheritance before his inheritance was due to him. Yeah.
Well, Numbers 34, I mean, and again, it tells you that they still receive the inheritance. So Numbers 34 and 13, it says, and Moses commanded the children of Israel, saying, this is the land which you shall inherit by lot, which the Lord commanded to give unto the 9 tribes and to the half tribe. For the tribe, and then it says, for the tribe of the children of Reuben, according to the house of their fathers, the tribe of the children of Gad, according to the house of their fathers, have received their inheritance, and half the tribe of Manasseh hath received their inheritance. The 2 tribes and half tribe have received their inheritance on this side Jordan, near Jericho, eastward toward the sun rising. So Moses, in allowance with God, said, you have received your inheritance. That's still a blessing. To receive an inheritance under Moses and under the commandment of God is a blessing. So that's all I know, is that they just received their inheritance. Now that Romans 4, though, just to help with how God can allow them to have an inheritance on the east side, is because the promise was bigger than just what most people concentrate on, like our modern day Israel location. So Romans 4 and it's speaking of Abraham, and 12 says that, and Abraham was the father of circumcision to them who are not of the circumcision only, but who also walk in the steps of that faith of their father Abraham, which he had being yet uncircumcised. Here was the promise made to Abraham. It wasn't just Israel. For the promise that he should be the heir of the world was not to Abraham or to his seed through the law, but through the righteousness of faith. So the promise was actually Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, the 12 tribes, and that seed of Abraham. The inheritance was global, or if you're a flat earther, it was flat earth wide, right? I mean, so the inheritance was the whole earth, for the eternal inheritance. So God can give them. He allowed them to have it on the east side of Jordan, because it's all theirs. All this was temporary, because he already knew
Well,
they
it's
were
all
going to get.
theirs if they accept the Messiah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, no, yeah.
Lydia Ann Brown writes, there were 7 nations that God was taking the land from to give to Israel. Were any of the 7 on the land that 3 tribes wanted to stay on?
Oh, I don't know. Do you guys?
Well, I think it.
I don't know.
I don't know that either.
Yeah.
Good
We'll have
question.
to-
You
Yeah.
stumped us.
Well, and that's the thing. People, they look at, and especially modern day like Zionism and stuff, is they'll look at like, this is theirs, this belongs to Israel. And even though we're talking about the inheritance a long time ago, it's not theirs anymore. I mean, God drove them out. Now, and the argument is, is he the one that brought them back, or was it a political Zionist movement that had nothing to do with their original promise? That's a whole nother argument. But God gave it to them. He let them inherit it, and then he disinherited their inheritance. He took it back from them. So that's a whole nother question. But um, what Brett say? Numbers 13 through 16 really sets the stage for all the wondering. Yeah. But well, Billy got us going for almost 45 minutes on
Yeah.
a lot of inheritance.
He did.
Yeah.
Hey, there was that one you were talking about, something to the effect that some people lost the land, some people didn't, and it was 20 years and above, right? 20 years and above. There was probably a guy named George who was 19, almost to be 20, and was like, "Woo,
Woo.
boy, oh boy."
Yeah.
Yeah,
No, but
I agree with that statement.
Yeah.
To answer her
Uh,
question, though, there were only 7 tribes or 7
Right.
peoples, and they were all west of the Jordan. However, there were a couple that they had to clear out for the tribes that stayed on the east. but they weren't the ones that were originally included on the west of Jordan. So the seven peoples, yeah, they were west of Jordan, but in total there was probably, I think, another 2 or 4 more peoples.
Well, and the problem was they didn't do away with them like they were supposed to completely anyway.
No,
And,
I think the ones that actually survived were the Moabites, the Ammonites, and the Edomites.
Mm-hmm.
The ones that stayed over killed off were the Amorites and the Bashanites, Sihon, Shihon, however you want to say it, and Og. Those were their lands were the ones that were given to Reuben, Gad, and half of Manasseh. So the ones that were on the east of Jordan weren't originally a part of the ones that were to be conquered on the west side of Jordan, which again, was colloquially called the Promised Land. But it was the Canaanites, the Hittites, Amorites, Perizzites, Hivites, Jebusites, and the Girgashites. Those were the 7 nations of Canaan on the west side of Jordan. I had to pull my notes.
I was going to
There
say
you go.
that's impressive that you had that memorized.
Yeah.
No, definitely not memorized, but I remembered where to look.
all right. Well, we got anything else on the inheritance, or you want to ask another question? We're almost pulling an hour here soon already. Was it Abraham caused
a lot of division even until today by not being obedient to God and waiting on the promised child, but instead did his own will, having Israel many times Ishmael, okay. Many times disobedient has long-lasting effects.
Yeah. No, she's right.
We see that with Jacob and Esau too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, Abraham said after God told him that he would have a son of his own, he even said, "Oh Lord, that Ishmael might live before you."
Yeah.
I mean,
you got to remember too. I mean, a lot of people don't realize it, but Abraham received that promise when he was like 74 or something.
75.
Yeah. He was like 99 years old when he finally had Israel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He waited 25 years.
Isaac.
Yeah.
Yeah, he waited 25 years for that promise. So, I mean, you could see how a man could get impatient. I mean, I'm not justifying him doing what he did, but God promises, hey, you're going to have a kid, and you're pushing 100, and you're like, well, yeah. But she's right. That one, where his wife, when Sarah, said, hey, you can, go into Hagar, and just their impatience caused a whole nation of people that was prophesied to be a thorn in their side all their days.
Think about it too. It's like maybe that impatience and that wondering and the constant thought of it is like maybe this is what he meant.
Right.
Maybe this is the way it's supposed to be done. I am barren, so I have to use my handmaiden. All that carnal justifications, finding reasons and justifications, and all the things that we do. We think that we're doing the will of God when we're actually not.
Right.
And I think that's one of the hardest parts about being a follower of Christ is giving up that control. Giving up that control. That's what true. I'm dealing with that right now. And I think God is trying to get me to understand and give up my control, my appearance of control, because I do understand that I'm not actually in control, but giving up the things that I have that are, that I feel like I can control is hard. When I was living carnally and of the world, I handled everything on my own. I did everything my own way. And that led to death, but it's hard to give all that control up and give those old habits up and totally depend on God to provide is really hard to do. It is really hard to do. And Ishmael is a son as well. He was blessed. He did receive a blessing.
Yes.
Ishmael did receive a blessing.
Part of that blessing, though, was that he'd be a wild man and against his brother.
Exactly. He would be a great nation that would be a wild man against his brother. And that you said something about a prick in the side it actually says that in Numbers 33 or 34. I read it. I read that in this study. Let's see, where's it at? I'll have to get my notes. Where are my notes? Oh, my notes are underneath my tablet. I'd have to.
Oh, that's all right.
While you're looking for those, I'll just
let it shine.
Yeah, all that. Yeah.
that'll wake them up.
Let your soul glow.
That'll wake them up.
But I know, to Billy's point, I know what he's saying. You know, it's difficult when you give up the things that you used to doing, and you got to give your life to the Lord. And that there's people in my family that still don't want to, get close to the Lord. And I thought about the conversation I had, me and the Lord. I said, when I was leaving work, I said, I was telling the Lord, I said, I'm frustrated, I'm mad. You put me as a pillar of the family now. My relatives, it seemed like they don't get it. And he said something. He said, son, listen, you were one of those too. You didn't go scot free in here. Just remember, just keep praying. Just keep praying. Because
Yeah, that's it. That's exactly it. It's Numbers 33:55.
So, yeah.
It says, if you do not drive out the inhabitants of the land before you, then it shall come to pass that those which you let remain of them shall be pricks in your eyes and thorns in your side, and shall vex you in the land wherein you dwell.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Lydia Ann Brown.
Yes.
That's good.
And then there's the judgment in verse 56.
Yes.
Moreover, it shall come to pass that if you don't do this, you're going to receive my vengeance in the place of them.
They just talked about that tonight at church tonight. It's about discipleship. We have to be obedient what the Lord is calling us to do. And I've been saying this for quite a while. It's like, yeah, we have to. And I can speak for myself personally as well.
That Genesis. Remember when?
Mama, water.
Oh, where was that at? Yeah, there it is. Genesis 24. No, it's not. Where is it at?
Liar.
Uh-oh.
I
Shame.
don't know where it is now.
Shame. What is it? Say what it is.
It was when Rebecca's. Oh, there it is. Yeah, Genesis 24 and 58. They call Rebecca. She was going to be married to Isaac. Her family called Rebecca, said unto her, wilt thou go with this man? And she said, I will go. And they sent away Rebecca, their sister, and her nurse, and Abraham's servant and his men. And listen to how they blessed her. And they blessed Rebekah and said unto her, thou art our sister. Be thou the mother of thousands of millions. Let thy seed possess the gate of those which hate them. So even, and this was, I believe, Laban's family, if I remember correctly. I'm not sure. But her,
Nobody said nothing.
Oh, even her family knew the promise that was made to Abraham, that she was going to be the mother of thousands of millions. And just for the fun of it, I looked that up one time because, he promised Abraham the world.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody's fighting over, the lot of the inheritance. thousands of millions, and I hate math. I believe that's billions. I know it's at
Mhm.
least a billion. If you think about what they understood even back then, besides the lot of their inheritance, besides Canaan land, besides all that, they knew that the promise was so big that Rebecca was going to be the mother of thousands of millions of people. You have to understand a spiritual biblical inheritance
Mhm.
to understand what that means. And you can tell people today, hey, okay, there's the promised land, but did you know that it's the world and that there's billions of people going to be part of this inheritance?
Mhm.
And in that day, it won't matter if it's on the east side of the river, the west side, the north side. You
Mhm.
know what I mean? It's a world
Well,
inheritance.
in the last couple of shows, Kylan brought up the point that the message of the whole Bible is all the same. You
Mhm.
know,
Yeah.
we see a command given to Adam and Eve to go and be fruitful.
Yes.
Yep.
We see the same command to Noah and his sons, go and be fruitful.
Yep.
We
Yes.
see the same command to the disciples,
Go
go
read.
and make disciples of all nations.
Mhm.
Yes.
It's obvious through the entire book of the Bible, the Word of God says that's the point,
Yes.
Yeah.
is for
Be
all the
fruitful.
world.
That was a couple questions tonight, which I didn't get to any questions tonight, but one of them was going to be what you talk about being fruitful. What was the forbidden fruit in the garden? I know we've talked about it a little bit,
I
but do you
think it was a
notice?
kumquat.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Um, the but what Billy's saying, be fruitful and multiply, to be fruitful. The forbidden fruit has never changed. It's always the same thing. It's
They.
the lie versus the truth, and
Mhm.
it's still today. And that's why Jesus said, "You'll know
yeah.
them by their fruits."
What are
Right.
you bearing? Are you bearing the truth or are you bearing the lie?
Come
Yeah.
on.
That's what I said. You're going to inherit something.
Yes.
Yes.
It's either going to be eternal damnation or
Yep.
eternal peace.
It's not going to
I've
be good.
enjoyed it. We're gonna title this one "Billy's Inheritance Question" tonight. This is
Open forum went to Billy's inheritance question.
Yeah. There you
So
go.
I'm reading this book right here.
uh-oh.
It's pretty good.
It is a good book.
I'm on chapter 3 right now.
Are you?
He's been taking naps. He can't read. It's took him a month to get to chapter 3.
Chapter 3, Day of Pain.
Yeah,
Oh
you got to
yeah.
get chapter 5 to get to the abduction. So hang in there with me, Doc. Just a few
This is a
naps more, and you'll be there.
real book. You can buy it on Amazon, Barnes and Noble,
That's right.
or I think you can check it out at the Greene County Library somewhere. So in Ohio.
Yeah.
All right, fellas.
All right,
Any
we're doing final.
last questions before we bounce?
No, we're good. It was good Q&A tonight,
All right.
actually.
Well, final thoughts for David Snell.
Yo. Hey, world. Just want to thank you, uh, spiritual brothers in Christ, for letting me to come in. I know I've been gone for a little bit, but I'm back at the scene.
Yeah.
I want you to understand that Dave Snell, Dancing Dave, didn't leave y'all. I just went to do some revival supporting out there. And I just want you to understand what you learned tonight. I hope this will enrich your spirit and in truth. And I just want you to know we love you. We appreciate you. God bless you. Let's keep talking and growing in the Lord.
Amen. Kylan Erickson. Final
Yeah,
thought.
so I'm not sure if I have any real final thoughts, but just to piggyback off of what Billy said just a minute ago, throughout the entire Bible, like you said, there is consistent pattern, and one of those patterns is the vocation of man. Ever since man was created, he was placed in the garden to keep and dress it. Now, without getting into a big theological discussion on it, we see the garden as men, the church, various different things. The minister as, the one who keeps and dresses it, keeping it, preserving it, keeping it safe, healthy, alive, dressing it, the robes of righteousness. There's all sorts of stuff that we can get into with that. But the point being here is that vocation was always there. And as a gardener, in order to break up the fallow ground, you also have to root out the corruption that's there so that, the goodly things can grow and prosper. So that's exactly what they had to do as a part of their inheritance, was to go into the west side of Jordan and to uproot that corruption, which, again, they didn't do completely. We see that they, left that thorn there, and it came up as thistles and everything else to really hurt them. So
Right.
I guess what I'm trying to say is that, yes, we do see that pattern all the way back from the garden eastward in Eden, all the way to the same pattern right there as they try to move in to claim their inheritance. And we still see it today.
Yeah. I agree.
Thanks, Kylan.
Yep.
Billy D,
Hey.
final thoughts.
I'm going to piggyback off what he just said, and and it ties into directly what he just said, where their command was to go in to the land and cleanse it, right? Root up anything that was idolatrous, evil, get it out of there. Well, it says the same thing in Colossians 3, what we're supposed to do when we become a new creature. It says, mortify therefore your members which are upon the earth, fornication, uncleanness, inordinate affection, evil concupiscence, and covetousness, which is idolatry, for which things sake the wrath of God cometh to the children of disobedience, in which you also walked sometime when you lived by then. But now you also put off these things: anger, wrath, malice, blasphemy, filthy communication out of your mouth. Lie not to one another, that you have not put off the old man with his deeds, and have put on the new, which is renewed in the knowledge after the image of him that created him. It's the same thing he was instructing them to do. Cleanse this place. You're a new creature. Same thing we receive when we receive the Holy Spirit. We become a new creature, and we're cleansed of the former life. We put off the old deeds. We take on the new life. Same thing he wanted them to do there. The message is the same. That's all. That's it.
Yes, sir.
That's all I got.
Thanks,
Come
Billy.
on.
No problem.
Waylon the Red Rooster.
Guys, I've enjoyed it. It's going to make me go study a little bit on the 12 tribes of Israel. But it all finalizes. As Billy said earlier, you're going to inherit something. Matthew 25 and 34. When the Son of God, 32 reading down, and before him, 31 reading down. When the Son of Man shall come in his glory and all his holy angels with him, then he shall sit upon the throne of his glory, and before him shall be gathered all nations, and he shall separate them from one from another, as a shepherd divideth the sheep from the goats. He shall set the sheep on his right hand and the goats on his left, and this is the final inheritance. We're all going to inherit something. Then shall the king say unto them on his right hand, Come, you blessed of my Father, inherit the kingdom prepared for you from the foundation of the world. He's going to have an eternal inheritance in the world. And then what's going to happen to the wicked in 41? Then shall he say unto them on the left hand, Depart from me, you cursed, into everlasting fire. Their inheritance is eternal destruction, from the presence of the Lord, prepared for the devil and his angels. So we're all going to inherit something. Brother Billy is right. We're looking for guests. I would need some. I'd like to get some people on our messenger group again. If you didn't hear it in the beginning, we have a private messenger group that about 20-something of us are on. Every weekend we get live links that come to the broadcast. You can let us know. We'll put you on the broadcast messenger group. You can sit there for years and never click it until you're ready. We've got brothers who've been on there for years and never hit the button yet. But let us know. We'll put you on there, and you can come on with us any Sunday you'd like. God bless you. Appreciate you.
Yes, sir.
All right. I'm just going through the last few comments, and I'm going to leave with a verse myself. Psalm 74. For God is my King of old, working salvation in the midst of the earth.
Amen.
For
Amen.
Matt Doc Truman,
Amen.
Waylon D. Red Rooster, Kylan Alrickson,
Ulrich.
Billy Dill, Ulrichson, Billy Dill, David Snell. We are Christian Crossfire, and we'll see you next Sunday, 8:45 p.m. Be here, be nowhere.